2 games down and hopefully 4 or 5 more to go for the Penguins in the Stanley Cup playoffs. As we welcome you into Get Me the Brandy, Hailey Hunter alongside Jay Caufield. Well, Jay, as much fun as the atmosphere has been sitting there at the desk in the bowl around all of the fans at PPG Paints Arena, I don't think anyone really expected the Penguins to lose both their first 2 games on their home ice. How much do you think these first 2 losses are due to, the Penguins struggling to find their game, but also the Flyers kind of executing their game plan they came in with?
Yeah. Yeah, Hilary. First of all, I totally agree. And it's nice to be on with you again. I look at it's a mix of both, right? They haven't found their game, but it's a little bit what Philadelphia is doing, and they're well prepared for this series. And they just haven't. They just haven't. We said game number one, they didn't have their legs. It felt it was more like that. Game two, they had
Mhm.
their opportunities. It was a better game, better effort, but still didn't go the way. And I think what's happened now is you have a Philly team that's extremely comfortable, confident, and their guys are going out and playing their game. They're rolling 4 lines, and I mean there were a couple saves that Vladar made that I thought they got him. I think the beginning of the third period, the Pens were pretty good in that third period, but they couldn't solve it. Then it went south from there. But to me, yep, a big surprise to be down 2-0. But again, a lot of hockey left, and I think you got to go out there in Philly and be the desperate team.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we've talked about, some of the young stars that have maybe been more of a threat than we thought they would be on this Flyers team, 10th youngest team in the NHL. One of those guys, the 19-year-old Porter Martone, he's one of 4 guys in NHL history to score the game winner in each of his first 2 playoff games, the only teenager to ever do that as well. How important do you think it's going to be to kind of be extra aware of him moving forward in this series? How much of an impact do you continue to see this guy make?
Yeah, I think they're all, I mean, they've been aware, they understand the lineup, and I think it's more about, being hard on all their guys. I mean, but Martone he's been a finisher now. I mean, they brought him in, he's had a great run since he turned pro, and he's carrying it right over into the playoffs. So I think it'll be just about, Haley, it's no one in particular person. I think it's more about what the Penguins do, their style of play. They just haven't been able to get to it, and it's opening up lanes or it's opening up opportunities for the Flyers to go from there. And then these guys are cashing in. So again, they need, it's almost like heroes are made in the playoff time, right? We know that. Martone is on a great track, and I'm sure the city of Philadelphia loves them for what they're doing. But I believe it was a mix of a number of things, and it's Forster coming back to the lineup after being hurt. So he's healthy. And then you get Martone, and we've talked each and every night. That addition of those 2 players back in the fold or coming into the fold has given Rick Tocchet many more options that he didn't have throughout the year, and they're a much different team.
Yeah, it's funny because I was listening to Porter talk after the game last night, and he was actually kind of being hard on himself. He was saying how, there's still a lot of work to be done in his game. And of course, all of that's true, but I'm thinking, man, you're 19 years old. You just finished up college and you just scored the 2 game winners in the first 2 games of the playoffs for
Right.
the Flyers. But it was nice to see and hear about how humble he is and just seemed to have a really mature mindset as he makes this jump
Yeah.
to the NHL. But with that said, a lot of physicality as well. We expected that. We talked about the retaliation, the importance of the Penguins being a little more disciplined with the retaliations in yesterday's game. Rasmus Ristolainen at one point punching Sid, and Sid kind of just sitting there and staying calm. But then frustration, right? We talked about this, started to set in at the end of the game. You see 6 players receiving 10-minute misconducts in the final 2 minutes. How much do you feel that the Penguins are kind of playing into the Flyers' game plan of trying to rattle them physically?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it at the end of the game because there's nothing, no harm, no foul. The game is basically over, and then the Pens that won't have the quit in them. I don't have a problem with that part at all. I still don't really like the idea of Ristolainen taking a shot at Crosby. That's during the game, but it is something that goes. You'll hear guys say, "Well, that's playoff hockey," but I'll always have an issue with that kind of thing. But I don't think it's truly, Haley. I mean, yeah, you can play in their hands, but I don't think there's anything. They're going after guys like they should. If you're Philly, you have to play that way. If you don't play
Yeah.
hard against Crosby's, Malkin, Letang, Carlson, all the names, Kindle. If you don't play them hard, they're going to burn you. So it's nothing that the Penguins didn't expect would happen. They're just getting it and through 2 games. They're just being outworked and out. If I said the jump, the speed of Philly comes into the forefront because that's on display. So the Penguins just need to go back to how they know what they need to do, how they need to play the game. I think some of the line adjustments we saw that'll all change the dynamic as we see it tomorrow night. But I don't really care. I mean, to me, the physical play, it's part of every series that we're watching that are going on. All 8 series are doing the same thing. So it's just how you respond to it, how you come out of it. But they're not in their game. That's where the frustration part comes up and builds up. Right now, the Flyers are, if you want to say in their head, it's more about how they're playing the game and frustrating the Penguins through the neutral zone, can't find their gears to get in the offensive side of it. That is what I feel is more of the problem. I don't care what happened at the end of the game. It's going to happen a lot
Yeah.
of any team that's on the downside late in the game, stuff like that happens. But in game, I'd rather not see Crosby take a shot or punch. But he doesn't back down from anybody. He goes after everything. So it's going to continue as they get into Philly, maybe even be worse because the Philly fans are going to be all over that as well. They love where they're at in Philly right now, being up 2-0. But the Pens know what they're about, and I think the guys truly. I'll just point at Crosby and Malcolm. Nobody else. Those two. They're not going to want to let go quietly, and I expect something completely different. And I thought it'd be different in game 2, but they have to change it, and it has to happen right away as they get into Philly.
100%. I wanted to ask you too, do you think they started that game with Connor Clifton on the third D pair for any sort of reason regarding physicality and just wanting to kind of be a tone setter in that game?
I mean, he has to play that way all the time, Hailey, no matter whether they
Yeah.
started him. I mean, a lot of times you can look at what they're starting, but I believe they started Couturier and Hathaway. So you then can respond in kind. And if you see what's up, yeah, then you put Clifton out there. Yeah, I can see that happening that way. But Connor Clifton has to be that guy that plays on the edge, or he's not as valuable. So he has to
Yeah.
be that physical presence on the blue line, and they're giving him a look. And I do think if you see what Philly's starting, and then you put Clifton out there, that's great. I love that. So, yep, that could happen.
Yeah.
Now it's going to be going to Philly. I want to see who the Penguins start and then who they counter with because they get to see what the lineup is like first before they put theirs out.
Yeah, I was curious about that because it's not often, seeing Clifton and Ryan Shea start the
Yeah,
game in game 2 yesterday. It's not often you always see their names announced first.
you're
Well, as
right.
far as the
True.
Penguins power play goes, Jay, I mean, nobody was expecting this 0 for 5 yesterday. That's, the only other time that happened was in March against Buffalo this regular season, 0 for 7 in the series right now. But the big number that stands out is the 4 shorthanded shots that they've allowed. Muse saying last night, there has to be more awareness of what's behind us, and it's something they've talked about, but they
Yeah.
have not gotten to the point where they've been more consistent with it. Do you see the Penguins figuring this out, and can they win a game if they don't figure it out, Jay?
If they keep giving them opportunities, eventually what's happened is Stuart Skinner shut them down. Otherwise, the scores would have looked much worse, right? And even though they don't have a high number of shots, so that's not the part, but the quality that they've gotten. So to your, when you put it out that way, Haley, yeah, if you continue to do this, then no, you're going to lose, right? You can't continue to do that. Eventually, Philly's going to bust through and score on their opportunities. They have not, right? They've worked and manufactured their goals later in the game. They haven't cashed in on the breakaway opportunities that they've had or the shorthanded chances that they've had. Last night they finally did, right? They made the second goal with a great play by Tippett to Hathaway. But if they don't change what they're doing, no, you won't last long in that when you're giving up opportunities, where you're not producing on your own power play and you're giving up looks going the other way. So, no, I think it'll be corrected. We didn't see them do that. Like you said, very few moments through the year have we seen the Pens give up these odd man breaks like we've noticed in the first 2 games. Now it's happened.
Yeah.
It's happened at the worst time of the year for it to be taking place. They can correct it. They have to move, and it cannot. I believe you can't see that happen. You can't continuously see it happen. You'll be done. You'll be packing your bags because it won't work out. I don't expect to see that type of game, that type of play. I expect to see Carlson more involved. We haven't. They've done a great job kind of taking him out of the game. I think it's got to be
Yeah.
different going forward. But if we continue to see the mistakes at the line and giving Philly opportunities like they've had, no, it'll be lights out on the Penguin side. It needs to change.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Rick Tocchet talked about how he's been happy with their PK being a lot more aggressive. But
Yeah.
when you have a more aggressive PK, there comes a little bit of risk with that too. So how do the Penguins kind of expose that aggressiveness on the power play?
Well, if they are attacking, I mean, look, the guys are so good with the puck. I mean, they just are. I mean, usually if somebody's attacking or pressuring somewhere, something's opening up. And I think I always look at Mario Lemieux that way. He didn't matter who came at him. If they tried to attack him, he took full advantage of it and found the open guy. You're already one man
Yeah.
up in that situation anyway, but you do have to be careful. If you're not in sync, and right now Philly's in sync, right? So they're making it work. They get their clears, all those things. So, but I do believe, Hailey, with the skill set that goes out on the power play, they settle it down. They're in Philly, maybe on the road. You won't have the same kind of heat that the fans want you to shoot. Everything that goes with it. Get on the road, settle it down, play your game, and then let your skill set take over. But if they're pressured, and they're pressured a lot, and again, they've done a great job doing it. They've been in sync, and when they're in sync, it's hard to get by. You need something. You need your breaks. You need something to go through. But their skill set will find the open guy, and they need to get right back to it and look at tape and see how they're doing, how they're rotating. I'm sure that's what they're doing today, leading into tomorrow, and get ready for tomorrow night.
Yeah, no practice, but I'm sure plenty of film today. I'm probably getting ahead of myself asking this, but let's say the power play stays this way through game 3. If I were to ask Dan
Yeah.
Muse this, he'd say, we're focused on the next game, and of course
Right.
respect that. But do you think that you could see some changes to that top power play unit? Because remember, some of their goals actually came from having Mantha and Chinikov consistently on that top unit too. Is there a desperation mode that sets in going into game 4 if they can't get it done tomorrow?
I don't think. I think the one thing I just want to see is I think there's going to be a change. I think there will be changes in the lineup, right? And it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think on the power play. Look, if you need to adjust in game, and you find that it's not going well right now with the first units that you have, and you want to make an adjustment again, fine. You might see that. Certainly, they have their options to do it. But I think it's like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing. Let it kind of ride out. I think they're going to find their groove, and they need to find their groove, but I think they'll find their groove in Philly. But I think it's going to be more line combinations, maybe one, maybe possibly two changes lineup wise. At least one, I expect. Other than that, get after it. I think they're going to find their game, and it has to happen. I know we know it. I'm saying it not as a homer, just truly. I believe they're going to find their game.
All right, we invite you to join the Malone Family Foundation for the 4th annual Black and Gold Breaking the Mold event in support of the healing power of hockey and its effect on the mental health of our veteran, active duty military, and first responder heroes. The multi-day event begins May 13th with 8 veteran and first responder hockey teams, or with 8 veteran and first responder hockey teams facing off in the all-new Hero Tournament, followed by the Hero and Celebrity Hockey Game. It will conclude with the Black and Gold Gala on May the 15th, where guests will unite at Rivers Casino with NHL alumni, special guests, and our heroes to amplify our mission. Please follow the Malone Family Foundation on social media for updates on participating celebrities. Build your mental strength by grabbing your tickets or a sponsorship at malone.getsmart.com. Together, let's show that hockey is healing through the spirit of the greatest game there is. And of course, Ryan, with you being here tonight, what's the ultimate goal? What's the most important thing you want to drive home?
Well, I think our mission is to unleash that healing power of hockey. We all know how powerful that locker room is, and unfortunately, like 22 veterans a day are committing suicide. So Yinzers are breaking the mold by taking action and providing that support for our signature Warrior Hockey program. Again, we just are so grateful for the support. This will be year 4 coming up with the gala. And again, just so thankful for Rivers Casino helping us out, bring up all of us together. So hope to see you there.
Great event last year, and actually the previous 3 years as well.
Well, hey, we saw some of those line changes in the third period. We saw Chinikov back on the second line with Malkin and Novak, and then Sidney Crosby's line had Ricard Raquel go back up there with him and Brian Rust. Sid was asked about it post game, and he more so attributed a lot of the opportunities that they got out shooting Philly 13-6 in that third period, more so just to the urgency of trying to tie the game back up. But we have seen a lot of good chemistry from Chinikov and Malkin together. Your thoughts on the switch, and do you think that's maybe one of the changes that we could see tomorrow?
Yeah, I agree with what Sidney Crosby said too, though. I think there was urgency. I think they came out with a different level, if you will, of intensity and a desperation, if you will. But I also think that I do think the line combinations, I think they're a better, I think, and I've said this before, it's not just now. I've felt that the Chinikov with Novak in the middle with Malkin and Raquel back up on the left with Sid is a better for this team. It makes them, it just comes across differently for me. I mean, they're rolling. I think you found it. And I thought that was part of the look in the third period as well. Now, look, they could go back to what we saw the other night, depending on their communication, what they talk about with the players, what the coaching staff looks at. But I think they're better with Chinikov, with Novak and Malkin, and Raquel with Crosby. So I do think that's one of them. I'd be shocked if we don't see that starting the game in Philly.
Well, because Raquel has such good chemistry with Sid and Rusty too,
Yeah.
with just how much he's played with them. I feel like
Yeah.
he seems really comfortable up there. I mean, Chinikov, you look at the first 35 games for him on Malkin's line, 14 goals, 8 games with Sid, 4 goals. So, of course, we've seen the production, but it just seems
Yeah.
like those guys click really well together. Wanted to ask you about the third line too, though, Jay. You know, a lot of
Yep.
times in these playoffs, bottom six scoring, third line is really important, especially in past playoff series for the Penguins. What have you made of Elmer Soderblom kind of being on that third line instead of Justin Brazeau? And could we see Brazeau maybe get an opportunity to take his spot?
Yeah, I think that's one where you're going to see change. Nothing on. Look, it's that when you're losing games, uh, you got to find certain places where you need to make your adjustments and what it's going to be. And sometimes, even if it's no fault of a guy's own, they just maybe say, "Hey, look, we're not getting the right mix out of the third line or fourth line, whatever you want to look at." I'm looking at the third line. Yeah, I expect to see Brazeau in the lineup again, but that's healthy. If everybody's all healthy and that being equal, I think you're going to see. I think Kindle, Mantha, and Brazeau is a better fit for this series, especially after 2 games. I don't see enough out of the third line. Nope. And I think that needs to, I expect a change there. I really do. I think that's the one, you can make little adjustments here and there, but I think you'll see Brazeau back in the lineup. And I talked about the line adjustments I would do with the first two. And fourth line, you stand pat. But look, I mean, you have Soderblom in the wings. You gave him 2 games. I don't see enough out of that. And especially,
Yeah.
and it isn't just that like that's almost the fall line, right? The team's not playing well. Well, let's look at the third line. No, I think there's a difference when Mantha and Brazeau together and you put Kindle in the middle. I expect that to be part of the thing that's going to make the Pens look better when they start game 3. All my guess, Dan Muse has done all the right things all year long. He might stay the same. For me, I would have Brazeau back in the lineup. And you're going to get
Yeah.
you're going to get a really hungry player that's been sitting out a couple games and waiting for his opportunity. Again, when you're down 2-0, you've lost 2 games. You need to happen. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, hungry player and a player that's got some size as well. Of the 6
Yeah.
shots on goal that those 3 guys combined for, Elmer actually had 4 of them so far this series. That's, that stat doesn't necessarily mean too much, but he's had his moments. But maybe to your point, Kindle, Brazeau, and Mantha have played a lot together. So that's what you
Yeah.
need right now. You need guys who have good chemistry. They got to start increasing the quality in their scoring chances. But when we
Yeah.
listened to talk it last night, Jay, he was kind of on an even keel. I don't know if you heard him talk, but he wasn't super high on his horse. He talked about the team just kind of needing to continue to do what they're doing. He actually said it was an ugly game. So I don't expect the Flyers to come into tomorrow, high on their horse, allowing the Penguins to kind of get a jump on them. And Carlson, though, Erik Karlsson said something interesting last night after the game. He was actually saying that the team is excited to get out of Pittsburgh and to go to Philly and to play in a hostile environment. He said they've handled adversity so well
Yeah.
all year that maybe that's the environment that they need to be put into.
Yeah. First of all, on the talk point, I totally agree. He understands. He knows. I mean, he's coached these guys. He's coached the majority. The superstar players that are on the Penguins lineup, he's coached them, right? Minus Erik Karlsson. So he understands they're not going to go away. It's not going to be easy, right? So he knows that. So if his team rides a wave and is all up, and then all of a sudden the Pens start taking it to him in Philly, what's the reaction going to be? I think he's doing, obviously, you hope that's how your team reacts. And that's what he's trying. I think he's trying to, the message from him, his actions are just what you talked about. He's got to stay calm. They have to stay calm and do the same thing. They're they are playing perfect games. They played perfect road games, and then they go on. They come away with with the 2 wins. But I think the way Talk's handling it, I would expect it to be that way too. I do think they're extremely comfortable. They're confident how they're playing the game, but they haven't been backed up at all. Like they've had no. They're not chasing the game. They're not doing anything like that. We haven't seen how they have to how they're going to react when that happens. I think as far as Carlson goes, I don't disagree with that either. It was such a great environment in the building, right, Hailey? We're right there the last 2 nights. Great environment. The fan base was outstanding, and they were begging for something to cheer for. So it didn't happen in these games. So going to Philly, I understand. I think it's going to bring something different out of them, and it is. We know it. Playing in Philly is a different. It's a different animal in itself. They're nasty fans. They're on it. They understand the game, but they love getting on Sidney Crosby. They love getting on. They hate the Pens, as we saw we hate the Flyers kind of thing. I think it's going to be good. It's going to make something happen, but you got to take advantage. If that's what you feel, you cannot let them get the jump on you. You got to make sure you get after them. I thought it was going to happen last night, and it did not. I expected them to get an early lead. It didn't happen. Going to Philly, maybe the Flyers will feel the pressure, Hailey. Maybe Vladar will tighten up. You never know. But I kind of understand both points of that, and I understand where Rick Tocchet's coming from with his team.
Well, that's why I'm wondering, you mentioned the confidence right now. That includes goaltender Dan Vladar. That's not a good thing. You could start he's always been comfortable since the start of the series, but it almost looks like he's getting more and more comfortable. What have the Penguins got to do to kind of take him off his game, frustrate him a little bit?
I think just putting one behind him. Just getting one by him early, and then make him start to guess himself. I mean, we know you want to get into the better scoring areas, all that goes with that. But it's more than one and done. Like not a shot, then it's going the other way. I thought the push that we saw in the third period is what I think you need to see, as much as you can in a 60-minute game. That's the effort. That's what we saw. Even trying to find telestration plays, Hailey. We were showing the third and fourth lines making something happen just by being aggressive on the forecheck, anything to create an opportunity. But if you saw each and every one of those clips that we did look at, it was one shot, then it was the other way. The fourth line last night, we had something where it's, a shot, then they retrieve it. All those things are going to make it difficult for Vladar. Then you end up working it. You retrieve low to high, get to the net and attack the net. I'm going to go with the Brazeau point again. You find him in the lineup and you're going to find more heat, more pressure in front of the net when they're out there. I think it'll be a difference maker for that. And I also believe that just play your game and get after it the way we saw. Again, I'm going to use that third period sequence, the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of it. The Pens were the dominant team for those minutes, and it just didn't deliver anything. But they really get to Vladar. You got to put one by him and then make him start to question himself.
Yeah, they really were the dominant team. And Tocchet said that he was asked if that concerned him, all of the ozone time from the Penguins, and he said it really concerned him. They're actually going to make some adjustments going into Game 3. But as far as Dan Muse's message to the team, what do you think his message is? What do you think it needs to be? What does he say to these guys going into Game 3, Jay?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, I think, showing that he changed the lines and things like that. They're trying to make adjustments, in-game adjustments, whatever it is. I also think he's got to stay the same way he was all year, right? His demeanor, everything. I'm sure he's got to carry himself the same way. You're down 2-0. I think he's going to let him know that it's desperation. It's like, I think the way Sidney Crosby talked about it, they understand that. They know they need to play the game that way. And I think from Dan Muse's side, he's got to coach that way. Same thing. If you need to shorten the bench, shorten the bench. But you got the best players that are here for a reason, have done this for years. And again, at some point, if you're chasing something, you need to shorten the bench, shorten the bench. I mean, you don't have to roll. At certain times, it's not appropriate to roll 4 lines. I mean, I think players feed off of what coaches do. They know you're pushing for a goal. You need something. That doesn't mean you roll a third line that's not performing or a fourth line that's not going to generate. If you need to lean on Malkin and Crosby in this next little bit, they're all tied to it. They're all going to feel the same pressure. They all have the same heat. But I think if Dan Muse sees his team reacting the way he expects and he's able to roll lines and get production from it, that's a different thing. Then the Penguins will dictate it then. But we're not seeing that. And I think I expect to see it going into Wednesday. But I think Dan Muse has to kind of stay to his form, what it's been like all year, the respect he's gotten from the players. But I also think we're all coaching now at the edge of the, when you're down in that situation, as we said, 2 games, I think now you coach to, you need a goal, you put out the appropriate guys to get that.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen, like you said, from him all season long. If something's
Yeah.
not working, he hasn't dwelled on it. He hasn't waited too long to make some changes. Well, I'm really excited to see what the atmosphere is going to be like in Philly. It's been incredible in Pittsburgh. What do you expect from Philly? You've played in games in Philly, Jay. Could we even see the Flyers feed off of that energy from the fans and be even more aggressive? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Penguins can match the aggressiveness of Philly. So I'm not, that part for me doesn't concern, because I believe it's going to be in everybody that's playing the game. There's something about it, Hailey. We talked about it with you and I and Borky the other night. When you hear the roar of the crowd, like as we heard it even over the last couple nights, there's
Yeah, I couldn't
something
hear you.
amazing. Yeah, there's something amazing about that. It drives a player differently, right? It doesn't get any better. It's something that can't be replaced in your life. Like when you've experienced that, there's nothing like it. I expect each and every player finish every check you get, have an opportunity to do, and while you're staying inside the game. They don't want you running around, but they want you to finish. And everything is a little bit late. They're allowing just a little bit later hits than they normally do. Expect the same thing. Depends on, again, I said, the Flyers have to play that way. They get after Crosby to slow them down. If they don't, they're going to make a mistake. They're going to give them more room. The Pens will take advantage of it. I think the Pens have to do that to the Flyers as well. That's the one thing I expect to see a little different. And I expect to see that Martone take a little bit more of a beating, tip it, flying around. Listen, they've been outstanding. They've been maybe making contact and coming off the wall in better position. All those things I expect to change going into game 3. I expect the Pens to initiate and then drive the crowd. The crowd is the nastier crowds. You take the Square Garden, places like that, but Philly, truly Philly, it's one of the nastier places to play.
Well, we know Sidney Crosby loves the nastiness. Bring it on. I hope he gets to continue racking up those goals in Philly. I know a lot of fans here in Pittsburgh would love to see that, would love to see a win in Philly as well. The atmosphere in Pittsburgh, incredible. Can't wait to see what it's like in Philly. Well, that's going to do it for Get Me the Brandy. Thanks so much for joining us. Jay and I will see you tomorrow for that game 3 in Philly.
Oh, Lord Stanley, get me the brandy.